let us stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Present. Arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Arms. Left. Face. Forward. March.
We're on to item D, Superintendent's Report, good news.
I would like to just give my condolences to the Smith-Williams family. Rosie Williams, the director of the clinic, we had her celebration of life this past Friday. Rosie was hired in September of 2019. She had our clinics restructured, and we were the clinics were being implemented in January, and then the pandemic hit. I can honestly say that the district was that much at an advantage by having Rosie Williams as our director of health clinic. She took care of all of the contact tracing for our district. She took care of the vaccination clinics. We had one of the first vaccination clinics in schools in the state. And then she also did our COVID testing. And she started the COVID testing long before the governor mandated it for employees. And so I would like to take this time to have a moment of silence for Rosie Marie Williams. Thank you. Also, in terms of good news, I'm going to start with district good news, followed by Edison, Kennedy, and the high school. In terms of district good news, the first good news I want to let everyone know that we have been able to receive a community partnership grant in the amount of $635,000. It covers fiscal year 22, which is our current school year, and fiscal year 23. The money has to be expended by September of 23. Our goal is to create opportunities for students during the summer and after school once the fall starts, and so that we can get as many of our students that are not normally involved in activities connected to a community organization. I've mentioned briefly to the YMCA, that's a potential partner. The state's attorney's office is a potential partner. I'm hoping that we can go to other youth organizations after we have kind of an expectation of what we want them to do with our youth, and get as many partners as possible so that as many of our children can be engaged in active summer activities during the summer. We're focusing on tutoring, mentoring, and SEL support, which includes enrichment. And so I just want everyone to know that within the next, we have to have a logic model, which is basically what our structure and our model is. In the next 2 weeks, I've already started rewriting the logic model, an evaluation model, and then hopefully by June 1st, we can implement a number of projects across the community to support our students through the summer and into the next school year. So if there are any questions or you have any potential partners, please let us know. We will have an accountability system, so we would expect our partners to provide some type of SEL mentoring or tutoring support with evidence that they completed that support. But we're really excited to have this opportunity to support our students through the summer and after school in the fall, winter, and the following school year. So the last district good news is Linda Peterson of Student Support Services was honored as Special Educator of the Year by the Kankakee Area Special Educators Symposium Selection Committee. Her video was shared on the district Facebook page, and she was given a plaque and monetary award. Congratulations, Linda Peterson. Right, we're on to item 2, instruction.
No, Edison Kennedy.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. More good news.
Yep.
Good news.
Good news from Edison. We had a donation. Edison would like to thank Alderwoman Kelly Johnson and the city of Kankakee for donating 2 trees. The trees will be planted outside of Edison on Earth Day, April 22nd.
Good evening. Kennedy would like to congratulate 2 of our students. We have 2 winners from the NAACP Black History Month Essay Contest. 59 years of fighting, is the dream still alive and relevant in 2022? In the 3rd through 5th grade division, I have a first place winner with Emma Lasdens, a 4th grader, and our 2nd place winner went to Jackie Ramirez de la Cruz, a 3rd grader. So congratulations, Emma and Jackie.
Good evening. From the Kankakee High School, we have 50 students who were selected for the early college program for the upcoming school year, as well as our track team has received a $4,000 grant.
14,000.
Oh, 14,000. Sorry, don't want to show them 14,000. Thank you.
Now we're on to item 2, instruction. Ms. Tiger.
Hello, good evening. Just a quick updates. Summer learning. So currently we have 350 students that are enrolled in summer learning, K through 8. So we're very excited about continuing to offer summer learning. Building administrators and instructional programs team is busy planning summer learning. In your board packet, you will see a request to go ahead and purchase Lit Camp. We want all of our K through 8 students reading this summer, and these are novels and books with a social emotional learning theme that all of our summer program will use. So you will see that within your board packet. Also, I just wanted to give a quick update that administrators and teams are starting to plan for next school year. So not only are we finishing up this school year and planning for summer learning, but we're also working hard to increase attendance, increase student achievement, and look at our staffing for next school year. Have any questions for me?
Any questions for Ms. Tiger? No questions from the board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're on to finance. Yes, finance, Ms. Nicole, Dr. Nicole Smith.
Good evening, Board, Dr. Walters, staff, and community members. Just a couple things this evening. There is a recommendation for an approval of hygieneering for the abatement project at the junior high. So that's on the agenda this evening, as well as we are rolling out and planning for online registration. It will start May 1st. Information is being posted on Facebook, school marquees, and sent out via Skyward All Call to notify parents, as well as there will be some flyers sent out to community organizations. The district did receive their renewal rates for health insurance. Our insurance premiums are increasing by 8.5% for the upcoming school year. We are monitoring the weather as we prepare to turn the LCC boilers off, so we're preparing for that project. Originally, we anticipated starting April 15th, but we continue to dip below into freezing temps. So until we can stabilize above freezing temps, so in the 30s is where we're at right now. So the goal is to be at like 55, but we're not going to be at 55 right now. But we are watching the weather so that we can go ahead and turn the boilers off and start this project. And that is all that I have this evening. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions from the board?
Dr. Smith, I have one, Madam Chairman. I want to clarify. The contract we're approving tonight is for King and Kennedy, right? For engineering?
Is for the junior high.
Okay, because it,
Edit, that is what.
when I'm reading it, it says
Oh,
King and Kennedy.
I apologize. Yes,
Okay.
I apologize.
No, that's
That
okay.
is
I
correct.
just wanted to make sure I was reading what you were talking about. So
I
that's
apologize, that is correct.
very good. And I want to thank you for, along with Dr. Walters, getting the assessment, the building assessment projects that had been completed in 2017. That's not fascinating reading, but it's very interesting. I appreciate it. I appreciate having it in hand.
We have invited the architects to come and discuss that plan,
Great.
as well as a couple of other items related to the community center.
Great, thank you again.
Yay!
Fascinating, not so much.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see all of you. Let me just pull up a PowerPoint here. Oh, he's got it back there. I'm gonna move it to full screen.
Can we get the lights dimmed a little bit so we can see a little better? Anyone?
Kel, do we know how to?
I don't know which one it is.
Stop.
All right, right
Stop. It's gonna take 10 minutes when we come back on.
Back.
Are we good? Yeah. All right. So, again, good evening, everyone. We just wanted to offer a little bit of context on the assessment that was brought over and just give a little bit of the history here. It may look a little bit piecemeal. Everything here is just stuff we've shared at different points throughout the years. But back in 2016, we were brought on to look at both work at the high school, but then also do assessments of all the buildings. So that consisted of myself, Brian in the audience, a team of engineers, and really walked every square foot of your facilities and kind of gave what the state of the state is with everything, and then from there be able to come up with a plan for how to move forward. So it was sort of a two-pronged approach, the high school being its own thing, and then also looking at all the remaining buildings. So starting with the high school, as we went through that, you can see the large price tag at the top there of about $38 million. The biggest things involved there were looking at the additions, the new construction, renovation, and then obviously mechanical, electrical, plumbing. All the roofs there were relatively new, so that wasn't something that was a big deal. We'll notice that some of the other buildings that comes in play a little bit more. So in looking at what it was going to take to complete the high school, effectively renovating and updating the entire building and taking care of everything in that report, we began with a 5-phase approach, and that included adding air conditioning and fire protection sprinkler systems throughout the building, so improvements as well. In 2018, the first phase of that work took place, and we knocked off about 50% of that list. So that was improvements to about half the building. In 2019, phase 2 went into place, and that took out about another 30%. And then most recently, finishing up phase 3 and a little bit of the repair work at the pool, basically another 10% there. At that time, when we started looking at it, the phase 5 work was including infilling of the second courtyard, and the way that you guys were operating with the new hub spaces, it turned out that maybe that wasn't necessary, so it's really now a 4-phase plan. And so we're down to basically the last phase, which about 10% of the building, it counts for kind of that science corridor and a couple other miscellaneous pieces. The big ticket items in that obviously are the mechanical systems. I know that's something that we're kind of chasing around the district as a whole. And that really, of that work, about $1.5 million is remaining in mechanicals, which accounts for the pool and both gyms. As part of the community center project, we are looking at options for updating at least the mechanicals in the back gym as well. Then looking on to the remainder of the district, when we had presented this back in 2017, the smaller buildings, primaries, and elementary schools, those were in relatively good shape. There's big price tags here, but a lot of that stuff is cosmetic. It's not a lot of heavy mechanical, heavy roofs. There's a little bit. But really, the bulk of the work was going to take place at your 4 largest, oldest buildings. So that would be King, Kennedy, LCC, and the junior high. So that really began where the next priorities started to focus. Looking at those numbers, again, breaking out kind of the big ticket, high profile items that, you know, we're again constantly dealing with, so roofs and mechanical. At the junior high, we had about 5.6 worth of mechanical, 530,000 in roofs. LCC was about 4.5 in mechanical, about 30,000 in roofs, not a lot in the roofs there. Kennedy, about 3.5 in mechanical, which is currently a large majority of that's being done now. And the same thing at King. In these numbers, that doesn't include ceiling and lighting that may go along with mechanical. Those would be things we'd look at a little closer in detail at specific projects. This one's really hard to read, but in 2019, we started looking at a 5-year planning process. So we had set projects for 5 years. The first one being work at LCC, and then putting in a new air handler and air conditioning in the multi-purpose rooms of Steuben and Taft. So all that work was completed in the summer of 2020. The next few phases kind of got reshuffled because of the ESSER funding that came in. And so rather than spread it around, you guys opted to take on King and Kennedy and knock out a big chunk of that. So this was kind of set up to do about $3 million a year at the time for this 5-year. Because of the ESSER funding, you guys were able to put in a bit more and try to just basically get a building done, which is what's happening with King for the most part for the classrooms. So you guys invested about $5.7 million. So those 2 vertical columns in yellow are what are currently underway. The remaining work on there from this plan was finishing up LCC and then doing air handlers here in this room, and then the same thing at Twain, so that you'd have the multi-purpose spaces all air conditioned at all those buildings. So at this point in time, we're starting to put together what the remainder of the plan is going to look like, since it's kind of in a pivot into where we're at now. This is sort of my cheat sheet. Again, very hard to read, but effectively identifies every building. It puts a dollar amount to each building of the remaining mechanical work and the roofing work. So the items in red are kind of the areas that we're focusing on next. If you recall, we came back, when we came back, it was probably about a year ago, and talked about what it would take to complete the remainder of the projects. There's about 20 million in mechanicals. So the recommendation at the time is to do somewhere around $2 million a year over the next 10 years to just actively chip away at that. And then with the roofs, there's about 6.8 million. So the recommendation, again, on the roofs, to stay up with those, is about 600,000 a year. We're currently in the process of working with the administration and your buildings and grounds department to really look at these items in red, and hopefully in the next few months come back to you guys with a new 5-year plan. These plans should constantly be updated as you chip away work, and so you're forecasting for the future. One thing I would say, even though roofs and mechanical are kind of the hot button issues, those are the 2 areas in which we're seeing really volatile pricing at the moment. Mechanicals in particular, through COVID, airflow, and that has been a real hot issue at a lot of schools, and all the ESSER funding that all the districts received, everybody's doing mechanical projects right now. So you can imagine the market's pretty flooded, those prices are going up. We saw that a little bit with the boilers, and lead times are incredibly long on that stuff. The same with roofs. Insulation has been a big problem. We've seen roof prices escalate almost 50%, quite a bit. So as we're looking at this plan, we're also taking those things into account, looking at maybe potential ways to kind of repair and service some of this stuff for maybe an extra year until the market stabilizes. We're not sure what that plan is yet, but we'll be coming in the near future with some recommendations for you guys to stay on top of everything. But we don't really want to be spending too much on particular projects that we know are overinflated, when you can get more value for that later on if you're able to wait. There was one other slide I sent over this morning. Can you either able to do the other presentation? Sorry, I added something for a little update on the community center. While he pulls that up, I can talk to the community center project a little bit. So we did meet with administration last week to start looking at where things are with that. As I mentioned, the market's a little volatile and there's a lot of inflation right now, so we were seeing some escalation across a few different trades, again, up to almost 50%. So we started looking at some things that maybe we could scale back on the project a little bit, some potential cuts, just to make sure we can keep this thing on budget. Shortly thereafter, actually Friday evening, we got a call from the precast contractor that we were expecting to award today. That's for the shell of the building. And we only had one bidder on that project because everybody is booked out till the middle of next year for these panels. You'll see all those Amazon shipping facilities and those boxes going up. Every precaster we contacted was full. This company was the only one that had beds available to make the panels when we were gonna need them to get the project on the schedule that we were anticipating. They lost 20% of their labor force to another company and basically called us and said we can't do the work. So, what that means is we're taking a minute to have a breath. We're gonna pivot a little bit and push the project back is our recommendation at this point, about 3 months. So we're still continuing along. We were originally gonna be out to bid in about a month with the remainder of the project. The plan is now to go out to bid sometime in August when the summer work is complete with a lot of these contractors. They're gonna be looking for a nice big project to carry them through the year. And we're hoping that'll give the market a little bit of time to kind of settle down when all these projects are wrapped up so that you guys get better pricing. So everything I think happens for a reason. I'm a believer in that. I think with this precast bid being rescinded the way it was, I think it's gonna work out better. It's gonna take another 3 months for the project to be completed. So rather than looking at around January of 24, we're probably in that March, April range. But I think that you're gonna get a better project at the end of this and you'll be able to get a little more value for it. So I know that everyone's excited to have that thing start as soon as possible, but I do think it's appropriate to take a breath and let's kind of get things back on the rails. We're just about complete with the drawings, so that hasn't really changed, and we're just gonna wait for the right time to get this out to bid. So that's all I have. If there's any questions related to any of that, there's a lot
Does
there.
the board have any questions?
What's that?
Or is that just-
That was just the updated schedule. I kind of talked through it, so.
And
Mr. Bolden?
in terms of the assessments that we've done, what I noticed is that when I read through each of the buildings, it would be helpful, I think, for our planning if we did that on a more frequent basis. I think 5 or 6 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, a lot's happened since then. Are you doing that for other districts, assessment, like annual assessments or annual updates?
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, and we were kind of discussing this a little bit last week as we were looking at it. I've been encouraging a lot of districts to at least have us come in maybe once at the beginning of the year, just to kind of give an update. Here's where it is, this is what's been completed, these are the focuses now. Kind of give everyone a refresher, especially when you have new board members coming on and things like that. They have no idea what the previous boards have done. It's probably a good idea, and we'd recommend doing that. It'll also kind of give us a little bit more time to plan for any potential projects that are coming in the following years. It allows Dr. Smith time to prepare her budgets and get things together and all that in order as well. We can get out to bid in the right bid climate. So that I would certainly recommend that, and we can make that a practice if that's something that this board would like to see.
Jess, maybe we can
Okay.
take that up with the finance committee.
Yes.
Well, I actually have a recommendation. So what I'm recommending is after each board election, that next board meeting, there's actually a meeting with the architects to talk about what has been done in the past. And then every June board meeting, they talk about what we've done, the plan in general, and then talk about what we're going to budget for the next year. And then that would still give time to include that in the following fiscal year's budget. So I'm suggesting the architects come to every June board meeting to discuss what has been done and what needs to be done the following year.
And that would involve them in touching base in whatever buildings they thought it was important to touch base on ahead of that time.
Yeah, before June.
I think it's a great idea.
All right, is that all, Mr. Wright?
That is all I have for you.
All right, is that all from the board?
Thank you.
Okay, thank
You
you.
guys have a
Well,
great
I do
evening.
have a question.
Yes.
So if we were to start that in June, you probably would have new information from now until June too, right?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So we'll start that this June.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
All right, we're on to item 4, personnel. Shamika Fountain.
Good evening, Dr. Walters, President Wells, and School Board. So I just want to briefly talk about candidates that the board has before them for recommendation for tonight for employment. Normally for the para positions and the teacher positions, the principals, we're going to start a practice where the principals will come up and introduce their candidates and give you information about those particular candidates, since the principals do the hiring for, I'm sorry, it's warm in here. Since the principals do the hiring for support personnel and also for teachers. So we do have two support personnel from Pregler School. Unfortunately, Ms. Gibson could not be here tonight due to other reasons, so I am going to read something briefly about her Head Start teacher, Ms. Stosiak. She's being hired to fill a vacant position at Pregler School, and she will become a Head Start teacher. Also, last month we had the opportunity to have one of Edison's new teachers that's coming to our district on board, and I would like Mr. Kuster to come talk about her. And although she's starting next school year, I want him to also talk about the unique position that she's going to be working in this current school year.
Hello again. I wanted to introduce our second grade teacher for starting next year. Her name is Sarah Decker. She's currently student teaching in the second grade class in Fine Arts Magnet at LCC. She'll be graduating from Olivet Nazarene next month. And also, she was approved as a tutor as well, but since we are in a unique position where she's graduating at the end of this month, she's going to come in and help us during the day and pull some Tier 2 and Tier 3 groups, so we're excited about that opportunity as well.
Can I mention while you're switching? We offer tutoring in the afternoon, and we'll start expanding our Twilight Academy to go down to the 4th grade. But we're really trying to figure out how to provide tutoring and support while the kids are in the building. Because after school and Twilight Academy, I was talking to 2 teachers earlier, I think that it's being presented as if it's punishment instead of it being a part of what they need in order to grow. And so we feel like if we can continue with the after school and the Saturday school, but also have tutoring during the day, we may have a more effective system of providing tutoring for students. So that's what we're thinking, because we can't necessarily get the students to stay, we can't necessarily get the students to come on Saturday, but they're already, most of them, not 100% of them, are in school. And so we want to start figuring out a model where they're getting that support in school. And not in necessarily large groups, but 1 to 3 students.
In your board packets for approval tonight, we have 3 candidates for administrative positions. And the first candidate is for the principalship at Mark Twain School. We're presenting to you tonight Dr. Banks. And I do want to start off by thanking the teachers who sat in on the interviews. I do want to acknowledge Ms. Floramo. She is a dual language teacher. Ms. Provost, who is the CCA teacher. And we also have Ms. Diaz, who is the secretary at Twain. Dr. Banks has been employed in education since 2004. She has been a teacher, dean of students, and a school administrator since 2011. Dr. Banks has a Bachelor's of Science degree in elementary education, a master's degree in educational administration, and a doctorate degree in education and instructional leadership. Dr. Banks has worked with students who have diverse backgrounds. Dr. Banks specializes in differentiated instruction, teacher mentoring, and student safety and discipline. Dr. Banks will take on the role of principal at Mark Twain for approval for July 1st. We have Ms. Bonita Anderson, and she is here, so I would ask Ms. Anderson if she could just wave her hand and you would briefly stand up. Ms. Anderson is being recommended for the assistant principalship at Kankakee High School. Ms. Anderson is a graduate of Kankakee High School. She has been employed with the district as an MTSS coordinator and a learning partner. Ms. Anderson holds a Bachelor's of Arts degree from NIU, a Master's of Arts from Olivet with endorsements in ELL and Learning Behavior Specialist. Ms. Anderson is currently working on her second master's degree in principal leadership. She has already passed the principal as an instructional leader test, and she is currently in her last semester at Governor State University. Ms. Anderson has experience as a teacher, mentor, and leader, and she will bring a wealth of knowledge to Kankakee High School and to our students and community with the benefit of her leadership. Mrs. Amanda Grace. Thank you, Ms. Grace. Ms. Grace will fill the position per your approval for assistant principal at Kennedy Middle School. Ms. Grace is a resident of Kankakee and has worked in the district since 2006. Ms. Grace has teaching experience in middle school and high school. Ms. Grace has a bachelor's degree from Adams State University and a master's degree in educational administrator from Lewis University. With her knowledge of middle school and high school, Ms. Grace will help our middle school students transition to the upper grade levels. So those are the three candidates that we have tonight before you in administrative positions. Are there any questions?
Any questions from the board? There are no questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. We are on to item E, Principal's Report. Kale Custer, Principal, Mark Twain Primary. I'm sorry. Thomas Edison Primary. Okay. That's what you get for building buildings that look just alike.
Good evening, Board of Education, Board President Wells, Dr. Walters, and the great city of Kankakee. Welcome to Edison Primary School. We are the proud home of third grade CCA and the K-3 Engineering Magnet. This picture is actually from the snow day challenge that I issued to the students. They had to get all their work done and then go do something in the snow. The rest is up to them. So this is actually one of our kindergartners. He built a fort. I just talked to his mom about it, and she said that it took a really long time. We have some of our staff here, if they could stand up, please. So we have Mr. Cox and Mr. Cross, third grade teachers. We have Mrs. Ganakopoulos, our self-contained special ed teacher, Mrs. Davis, our secretary, and Ms. Noble, our kindergarten teacher. Give them a round of applause, please. And then I want to give a shout out to all those watching online as well. I want to give a special shout out to Ms. Davis, even though I just introduced her. This place wouldn't run without her. She's everyone's left hand, right hand. She's always handling something for all of us, and we appreciate her very much. I'd also like to take a second to honor our retiring staff, Barb Southard, our second grade teacher, and Helen Malone, our head cook. Please give them a round of applause. And I'd also like to thank Zion Ali for his help with the video we're going to see in a second. He's an Edison alum, so of course he did a great job. So this year we started with this picture and this quote. I know you can read it, but I'm going to read it out loud. A tree with deep roots can withstand a violent storm, but the tree can develop those roots just as the storm is on the horizon. The roots here at Edison are deep. I am very impressed with the resiliency of the students here, and our staff has worked tirelessly through the twists and turns of this year, and I could not be more proud of a group of people. I'm glad to show you some of the things that are going on here at Edison, and also the staff has a message for the past, present, and future students of Edison.
That's what chest is feeling. Chest do right strike. Chest do it good. We should win. But we got cold. Faith in the hot and high. We should win.
The people laugh and tell me dreams.
If you've ever been so low,
You ever felt like you wanted to scream?
If you've ever been doubted in your quest to achieve,
if the non-believer voices were so loud,
you almost started to believe that they were right. Hold up. This is the moment I remind you that they are never right.
Because you were born to be a beacon of light. You were born to overcome any fear.
Or any fright. You were born to have next level vision.
and not just sight.
You were born with the heart.
And passion.
To never give up. And fight.
And fight.
And fight.
If they say there's no way,
Make it.
never ask for permission to be great.
You take it.
Greatness is yours to claim.
You just gotta take it.
When they try to lock you up with a mental chain, you break it.
Any questions?
Any questions from the board? Well, I just want to say your building looks wonderful. It looks like your staff is taking very good care of their students, and thank you for hosting this board meeting. Thank you, Thomas Edison.
Thank you.
All right. We are on to item F, public comments, and I will read the public comment guideline. The president will recognize members of the audience who wish to make comments to the board regarding any topics related to school district business. The board will take all comments under advisement without discussion, which means the board will not respond tonight. If a member of the public raises an issue or concern that requires follow-up, the board president or superintendent will do so in a timely manner. Please give your name, direct your comments to the president. Comments are limited to 5 minutes. All individuals are to conduct themselves with respect and civility toward others. First person, Robert Ellington Snipes.
Could you repeat everything you said? To the Board of Education and to the superintendent, 2 things. The first one is an observation, and the second one is not so much a recommendation, but something to think about. I was here at one of your board meetings, and I looked at the salary. You all presented the salary of the principal at the high school. But then I read in the paper that you hired a person in junior high. That's okay, but never in the history have I ever seen a high school principal make less than a junior high principal. Never ever saw that before. And for double the work, and I can speak in behalf of the principal, even though she know we haven't had a conversation, but my thing is, she's busting her butt at that school. I see her all over the place. I see her doing what she has to do. She's even in the lunchrooms, helping with the lunchroom. So she's busting her butt to do what she does. But I just haven't seen the disparity in that, in those numbers, and I trust that we correct that. Because if I was a principal at the high school and saw that, I would just, not that I would complain, but I would be a little bit discouraged, and you would know why. With that being said, let me give you my next objective. Chaos is created when you don't have a proven system and a guaranteed process to achieve mastery of your purpose. Progress is short-circuited by procrastination and mistrust. By my definition, is a recipe for disaster. As I often share with my students in life, you have three choices: give up, give in, or give it your all. I hope for our students' sake you choose the latter. There's a principle in ethical intelligence entitled do no harm principle. Harm refers to any type of action that damages others. The do no harm principle is generally associated with healthcare professionals when you're sick. You hope that your healthcare providers will help you get better, but you rightly expect that they won't make you worse. When you think about it, it applies to every profession. Nurses, doctors, construction workers, accountants, teachers, students, in fact, everyone. Do no harm is largely a principle of restraint, non-intervention of do nothing in a positive way. When you choose not to respond to nasty gestures and inappropriate comments, when you choose not to pass on gossip and rumors or causing discomfort to others, you're applying the do not harm principle. In essence, if you're attempting to do or say anything hurtful, harmful, or unhealthy, the ethical, intelligent response is to restrain that impulse, as difficult as it may be, the do-nothing principle. The four other principles of ethical intelligence are making things better for yourself and others, respect others. Aretha sung about it, Eminem raps about it. Parents will tell their children about it, I hope. Respect is just good etiquette. Be fair. If you don't know something, stop pretending like you do by giving empty answers. Just ask. And last, but certainly not least, be loving. All of our students are our priorities. As administrators, educators, or support staff, we must focus on our students' strength rather than their mistakes. We must receive them as they are and make them better than they were. While you may not see the immediate fruits of your labor, believe me, the harvest will come. I cannot overemphasize the importance of collective collaboration over cliques, commitments over complaints, or proficiency over deficiencies. The recipient of our adversities and complexities are our students. They do not deserve this, and we're better than this. All of our students deserve everything our district has to offer: educational equality and equity, absent discrimination and disparity. I close with a Snipes quote: make every week of class a first-class week. No excuses.
Thank you, Mr. Snipes. Amanda Wells.
Hello, my name is Amanda Wells, and I'm just here with a general concern. It may be a little windy, so excuse me. My main concern is the way that how I have dealt with, sorry, the way that my child has been dealt with throughout her entire school career. She's a 7th grader now. I would say it started in the 4th grade. Where she had a permanent sub for about half the year. And that caused her to fall behind tremendously as far as her schoolwork went. I wasn't notified of her fall behind until it was too late. We were way far in the school year. Once I was notified, I tried to rectify the situation, and it was a hard battle to get it rectified. I felt like the school teachers and administration were working against me, and that has been a pattern that has continued throughout her entire school career since the 4th grade. She's currently a 7th grader at the junior high school. She's had a consistent, I would say, 40 missing assignments since the beginning of the school year. I have done everything in my power as a parent to rectify it. I've tried Saturday school, I signed her up for tutoring. That was a long wait for the tutoring. They offered the tutoring, I want to say in January. I didn't hear anything until March. She didn't get assigned a tutor until late March, early April. The tutoring is only offered from 2 to 3, which I think is unfair. She has drama and chorus from 2 to 3. So if she doesn't skip her 7th and 8th hour, she doesn't get to go to tutoring. So I don't see how that's helpful to her. Another concern that I have is that when she does fall behind, I don't hear from her teachers. I've reached out to teachers. It's like pulling teeth to get an email back or a phone call back. And this, like I said, this has been consistent from 4th grade. She's now a 7th grader, so we're talking about 4 years. She'll be in 8th grade. I have a 3rd grader who is bringing home the same homework as my 7th grader. They have matching assignments. My 7th grader is doing coloring sheets. I don't understand that. She's in the 7th grade. She's probably operating at a 5th grade level as far as curriculum goes. And on top of her operating at a 5th grade level, they're not assigning assignments to challenge or boost her into moving forward into a higher level of learning. I feel like no one in this school district has listened when I've asked for help. I feel like the teachers and the administrators that I have come into contact with don't have an interest in bettering my child's future, is not hindering my child's future. And I don't know what else to do. I have, like I said, I've done everything in my power as a parent. I've hired private tutors, I've gotten workbooks, I've reached out to teachers, I've reached out to administrators, and it's been a constant rejection. And I don't know if there are other parents out there experiencing the same thing, but I know that my experience has left a really bad taste in my mouth, and and as a parent in this school district, I don't know what else we are supposed to do. If our teachers and our administrators and other school support staff are not actually supporting us. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. All right, we're on to item H, consent agenda. And before we act on that, we need to add a name to, I'm sorry. Yeah. To the resignation list, it says administrator, but this is all.
We want to add David Stroll to resignation.
Right, okay. It says administrative personnel. You see administrative? Yeah. Which one? 3, under what? Under 6? Number 6?
Support.
Okay, number 6. We need to add a name to number 6. It's number 6, approval of resignations, licensed educational professionals, and support personnel.
Right.
And that name is Galen Stroh. So that name will be added tonight. Do we need to make a motion? No? No? Okay, all right. So now, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Boland, is there a second? Second by Archie. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Archie?
Yes.
Boland?
Yes.
Gadding?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Barrett?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Wells?
Yes, and the motion carries. We're on to item I, action agenda, action items. approval of recommendation for position letters first, second, third, fourth year. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Gavin, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Johnston. Any questions?
Madam Chairman, just clarification, there are no fourth-year teachers on this list. Is that an anomaly, or did we just not have a list out?
There should be 4 on there. First, second, third, fourth.
I got second, the third and fourth. Maybe I misread it, I'm sorry.
There's a list
I got
on the link.
There's 4 separate ones.
Okay, I see it now. I did not see it before. Yeah, I saw it. Thank you, I'm sorry. Just didn't see it.
All right. All right. We have a motion on the floor. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Boland,
Yes.
Gadding,
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Archie,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes, and the motion carries. We're on to item 2, approval of contract with, High Engineering. Okay, I'm sorry.
Engineering.
Engineering for abatement of project management.
So moved.
Moved by Gavin, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Johnston. Okay, it sound, you were real long first, I'm sorry. Second by Boland. Any questions? No questions? Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Gadding,
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Archie,
Yes.
Boland,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes, and the motion carries. Approval to purchase Lit Camp, District Goal.
So moved.
Number 1,
So moved.
moved by Gavin, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Williams. Any questions? No? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Johnston,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Archie,
Yes.
Boland,
Yes.
Gadding,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes, and the motion carries. Superintendent, do you have something?
Yes, I think we have a student here, Tracy Jordan, and are you here to talk about HBCU trip?
yes, also something else.
Okay, if the board will approve, she would like
Please
to.
come forward.
and-
So again, again, my name is Tracy Jordan, and I'm a senior at the high school. And I wanted to come up here to address 2 concerns that I had at the high school. So the first concern is about lockers. So as a senior at the high school, I have to carry around my book bags and my coats everywhere I go. And I have classes all over the high school, so sometimes it can be difficult for me to have to carry all those things around when having to go around the school. And I do understand that there are lockers, small lockers in the hubs, but with how my classes are set up as a senior, all my classes aren't in one hub area. So I can't just put my stuff in one locker in one hub because I have to go around the whole entire school. So there are lockers that aren't being utilized in the hallways, and I believe that if students like me were able to use those lockers, it would provide extra convenience. And the second issue that I had was about drugs in the school and how we're handling that issue. So I know that we were locking bathrooms to try to deter students from smoking in the bathrooms. I don't really understand how that's supposed to be a solution. You still have students bragging about smoking weed and smoking, you know, in the school. And I think there should be a harsher punishment for students who do use drugs on campus. I find it to be really concerning because I have a younger brother and I have a younger sister. And I don't want my sister to get caught up in drugs. I don't want my brother to get caught up in drugs. It's very prevalent in our culture, and I think that if there was a harsher punishment for students who were doing it, I think it would deter students from doing it. Like, let's say you have a student, you know, smoking something, and they get caught multiple times. You know, take that student's privileges away from going to things like prom or basketball games, stuff like that. I think locking the bathrooms doesn't do anything to help the issue of students using drugs on campus, because students are doing it elsewhere. So I believe that that should be changed, maybe just establishing harsher punishments. The bathrooms don't have to be locked. So that's all.
So, you know, in the past, if it's a student, I know that normally we don't talk in public comments, but when there have been students coming, we have given the opportunity to talk. Okay. So, students could request the use of the lockers. So when the lockers were redesigned, we actually had a meeting with the high school students in, it would have been what, 2016, 2017? And they actually did say 80% of the students did not want to use their lockers. But we did leave lockers across the building for those students who need to use those lockers. And so what I suggested to one student that was in sports is that she requests to use the lockers that are down the hallway because most of her equipment was related to sports, and so it would be close to the gym. And so Dr. Sims is the principal, she's here now, and she can address the issue with you requesting a locker. It's as simple as requesting it. Because I don't think, do we have maybe 4 kids who requested lockers? Okay, so we have probably at least 100, 200, 300 lockers, if not more. And so it's just as simple as requesting a locker. I do think that we need to communicate to some of our students that that's all you have to do is go in the office and request a locker. The other thing is I think that if Dr. Sims doesn't mind to come and explain the bathroom, because I don't think the bathroom was just about drugs. In fact, what we were finding is that it's like in the 60s and the 70s, they were smoking in the courtyard with permission. From what I understand, I'm not saying everything that's in those things that they carry, what are they called? Vapor. Everything, I am sorry, that was like, I really didn't know. So everything that they're carrying, don't laugh, everything that they're carrying is not necessarily drugs. Well, I guess nicotine is a drug. And so that's, if I'm not mistaken, one of the problems is the nicotine that they're smoking. So it's not necessarily an illegal drug, but it is illegal for high school students. And so Dr. Sims, can you talk a little bit more about the whole bathroom issue? Because I know that's a hot topic for the teenagers. They want to really be able to go to the bathroom without asking adults to go to the bathroom.
So, good evening. As Dr. Walters alluded to, that locking the bathrooms is not about to prevent students from using drugs. However, it's for safety reasons. Every security personnel has a key to the restroom, so in the event that a student wants to use the restrooms are unlocked, they're supervised and monitored. So that's the rationale for locking the bathrooms. Students have full access to all of the bathrooms. Every security personnel has a key to the bathroom to unlock it.
Are there any questions about and I am not in any way saying that our high school students don't have drugs, but I don't think that we've had a high school student that was multiply caught.
No, we have not had multiple offenses. We do have some challenges that we have been overcoming. And as it relates to consequences, the consequences are tiered consequences, but we have not had students who've had multiple occurrences.
But I almost hesitate to say this, but we encourage teachers to somehow let adults know. I hesitate to say this because I know that that's just something that people don't like to do, but I really think that the kids probably know more about what's going on than the adults do. And so I hope that we can figure out a way for the students to discreetly and safely tell other adults when there's something going on that people may not be aware of.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
Because once we're made aware of the situation, we definitely follow through. So it's just us being aware of it.
I have a question.
Yes.
What are the consequences? What are the tiers? What are the consequences?
So for first offense, I know that typically we like to lay down the hammer, but I'm an individual who likes to get to the root of the cause. And so after we have a conversation with the student, a parent is always notified, 1,000%. And so we don't necessarily suspend the student immediately, but definitely based on the circumstances, we tier the consequences based on the circumstance. By all means, I'm not saying that they do not get a consequence, but suspension is not the first recourse, if that's what you're asking.
So can I also say that under Senate Bill 100, we have to take in mitigating and aggravating factors. We can't say first offense, you get this, second offense, you get that. That is actually, Senate Bill 100 ruled that out in 2010, 11, or even around that time. So I just want to make sure that when we say tiered consequences, you can't say this happens, because it depends on mitigating, like why did the student do that, and aggravating. You know, was the student in trouble in the past for the same incident? Was the student the attacker and not the victim? So there's all kinds of things that you have to take in consideration, and everyone is supposed to have a consequence based on their circumstances.
Exactly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess one more thing, my fault. So I had worked on the HBCU, and I was
Oh, yeah,
invited.
that's what we thought you were gonna talk
No,
about.
I wasn't sure.
Okay, so tell us about the HBCU trip.
So the trip that Ms. Short had arranged for us high school students, it was a really great experience. I learned a lot. Even though that I've chosen my school already, I want to go to Governor State. Seeing other schools, and especially Black historical schools, I believe was a really great experience. I liked talking to the students there, getting to know the culture a little bit, going down south to see how it is. It's great to see small Black communities being able to do great things. You know, you don't really hear a lot about that, and you know, it's good to be able to see those types of things. You know, if I wasn't going to Governor State University, or if I didn't make my mind up, you know, I would consider going to HBCU. So I would, you know, if this trip is done in the future, I would recommend every single high school student to go on one of these trips, to see what it's like to be in a different state, see how it's like to travel. We had to stay in a hotel room, we had to plan out where we're going to eat at, and, you know, it was a good experience.
I want to add to that. I know it was a wonderful experience for the students. I know they fully enjoyed it. The adults staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning, walking the hallways, that was a bit hard. That was rough. Well, I thought it was a good trip. I don't know if the Youth Empowerment team, did they want to add anything to how that went? Because I think Youth Empowerment is here. Not you. Oh, you. If you want to add something, you can come up.
Oh, I was just going to give just briefly about it, but you did a great job.
Come forward.
And so while she's coming up, the Youth Empowerment Program is funded by ICJA, Illinois Criminal Justice something authority? I can never, Information Authority. And they are currently actually providing more funding. And so we're hoping to increase our current funding from 1.4 million to 1.9 million. And I'm hoping we'll hear about that soon. And if we increase the funding to the 1.9 million, what we really want to work on is helping our students to transition out of this pandemic back to school in terms of attendance and work completion, particularly at the junior high and the high school. And so we want to hire more community partners that are actually knocking on doors and talking to families about the importance of transitioning back to as close to normal as possible.
So no, you did an amazing job at explaining the truth. We had the pleasure of taking 41 students to Tennessee State and to the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. They were amazing.
Well, that's not true.
The experience was amazing. They were able to walk the campuses, get history about each university. The Tennessee State has a innovation lab that was just amazing, that they are able to take their business endeavors from the concept to the commercialization. That was amazing to me. They also had a food pantry, which to parents would be an awesome benefit. They are able to go shop at a Kroger food pantry whenever they need to. Pine Bluff rolled out all the stops. We were there for their Lion Day. We were greeted with a pep team. Every organization, every fraternity and sorority were set up to meet them and greet them. We had the pleasure of being personally toured by Kankakee County's Trent Willis. He is the student vice president of the University of Pine Bluff, so that was really awesome that he took it and wanted to personally give us a tour. We were taken down after that to their stadium for lunch, and they had a DJ, they had the sororities and the fraternities perform for them. Kankakee was marked the most lit.
Yeah, I just want to say that they weren't at first. At first, they were, they were actually, talking about how they wanted to do this and they wanted to do that. And then when they got there, I think they were like, what is this? And they were walking like this.
Right.
And then after a while, they did relax. But at first, I thought they were afraid.
They did not go in.
They did not go
at all.
in lit.
They saw the experience and they were like, oh, okay, I kind of like this. And then as it went on,
They relaxed.
they relaxed, and they definitely, the DJ called out Kankakee several times. We had a student that won some
He won some tickets, but he wasn't old enough to take them. Yeah. Some concert tickets.
They recognized him in the stands, so it was awesome. Like I said, we could not have asked for a better group. I'm excited for the next tours for spring break. Hopefully, we'll be able to do a HBC tour in Atlanta. This Saturday, we have Chicago State Black Expo. We will be taking 25 students. We also have ISU on the 20th. And then we have our college and career fair at the Kankakee High School on April 28th. So we're excited about the tours coming up.
Yeah, and I have to say that we did not take the students that are typical school students, like they do really well in school, they're doing everything that they're asking for, and they're asking to do, but the kids were really not a problem. The reason we stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning is because they're kids. Like, it wasn't because they were a problem. In fact, at one restaurant, didn't they say that we threatened them? Because they were so good, they wondered if, they were so good that they wondered if we somehow threatened them, but we didn't. Or maybe we threatened with our presence.
That might have been it.
One of my favorite students said that Steaksville was at the hotel.
Statesville. And I was like, because we just want you to go to bed. Nobody wanted to go to bed. Nobody was like, just go to bed.
No. So the kids were really, we really didn't have any problems with any of them. We had one student that was a little bit more of a challenge than the others, but I think he really needed to be on that trip, and I would encourage him to go on more trips.
He's asked already
Oh, I'm in trouble.
for the next trip.
I'll be his one-on-one.
He's already, sure when is his next trip, so.
So I just think it's important for students that don't know if necessarily get these opportunities to be given the opportunities. I know that there were some suggestions on putting some expectations, like you had to meet certain expectations to attend. These students would not have met those expectations, and I think going on that experience probably changed their lives. So we don't plan on putting any expectations on students in terms of attending. We do want to know if we need to hire maybe additional support if students are more challenging, but in this situation, we were fine.
Thank you.
All right. I did skip an agenda item. Item G, Do you want to report, Mr. Gavin?
I don't, yeah, that's it, yeah, I can. The Finance Committee met on, March 24. President was Gavin, Bowling Wells, and Dr. Smith. Things for discussion, our health insurance renewal, we received a 8.5% increase for our insurance premiums for the coming year. We talked about the budget updates and recaps. The committee discussed the status of our current construction projects, and Dr. Smith and guys just went over, we just went over that, the boilers and those things. The committee also discussed, one of the last things we discussed were the fees, and how our fees are just staying in line. Our fees aren't going up for the next year or for the summer. And that's the gist of what we discussed on 24th and finance and facilities. Any questions?
All right, thank you. The president's report is going to be brief. I met with a friend today. He came up from Eastern Illinois University and toured our high school. He is encouraging our high school juniors and seniors to sign up for the teaching program, the minority teacher identification and enrichment program. It's June 13th through July 1st on EIU's campus. And the students who sign up for this will earn 3 hours of college credit that's transferable to any university in the state. They will live in the residence hall, go to class during the day, enjoy practical experiences with children, and participate in social activities in the evening and weekends. So this information will be made available at the different principal, Dr. Sims' office, but at the different hubs, the junior hub and the senior hub. We'll be sure you get that information. I'm very excited. This is an opportunity for us to begin to grow our own. When kids start thinking about majors, we're finding rarely children decide they want to go into education. Miss Bell in the Student Success Center, I introduced him to her, and she told her little story. She got a summer job doing some internship at a school, and that's what touched her heart and sent her into education, was working with the students. So this is an opportunity for us to help our students see themselves in a different light. I was very excited, and he was very impressed by our building. He thought it looked wonderful. He was just, I told him it was practically a new building. There's still some spots that are still old, but he was very impressed by the idea of the hubs and the idea of putting the books in the hubs to go with the theme of the hub, and he thought that was very innovative. So that's my report. There is a phone number if you want to call. I'll give that number for the people on YouTube. It's 217-581-2524, and you're calling to the Dean of the College of Education, Ms. Loretta Henderson, who actually knows one of our principals, Ms. Sykes. She actually knows her. So Kankakee roots far and wide.
Can I just make it? So I would really encourage anyone to talk with Dr. Sims so we can coordinate efforts. There is a cost. And so if you go to Dr. Sims and we get 5 to 10 students, we can support 5 to 10 students in that program.
Okay. All right. So there you have it. If there's nothing further from the board, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by second. I know if RJ was a Williams or Gavin.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Moved by Gavin, second by Archie. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, this meeting is adjourned.
Dr. Seuss.